Hi, this is Paul, and as you might have noticed on my channel over the last week or so, there's been sort of the equivalent of reruns. I've been posting material from other channels that I've done, and a lot of conversations that I had stored up and done in a little while. That's because I've been out of town, or sort of out of town, or sort of on vacation for a little while. Last week, today is, let's see, what day is today? Today is Tuesday, so a week ago, not last Sunday, but the week before on Sunday, I took off. My wife and I took off for Salt Lake City. I had a church meeting to do, and then I was going to head down to southern Utah for a week of vacation. But when I was in Salt Lake, I got a message from my mother that my aunt had died, and I got a message from a member of the church that her husband had taken a turn for the worse. And instead of being on vacation, but not actually being on vacation, or being 2 days away from anything, exploring canyons or whatnot in the desert of southern Utah, decided to postpone the vacation and just head home. And so that's what I've been doing, visiting the member of the church who's been ill, and keeping close contact with my mother since the death of my sister. You know, grief is a cumulative thing, and so it's important to keep tabs on your loved ones when in our family we've had 3 pretty significant funerals over the last 2 years, and I know that might not sound like a lot to some of you, but death does, grieving is cumulative. So I've been busy with other things, so I haven't put out any new content. We're into August. My wife is a school teacher, and so August is get ready for September month, and so she'll be doing that, and so I'll hopefully be making some new videos. So while I've done this, I've also, as many of you have noticed, taken a pause and paused the Calendly things. There haven't been hardly any open slots, and so I've been doing some reflecting on the channel, on converzations, on a whole number of things. One of the things that's a reality. I wrote a piece on CRC Voices this morning that reflected on some of this. One of the things that, in the channel is maturing, and what that means is that in some ways the bloom is off the rose, and people are speaking their own minds a little bit more freely. Some people have lost interest and left. Others have settled in. That tends to happen with people over time, and so there's been a little bit more criticism, which is actually, I think, a good thing. If you have all positive comments and all positive conversation, then we're probably not speaking truthfully to one another. So, debating something, disagreeing with something, especially with ideas is important. And so challenging one another, that's a good thing. And, I've been weighing this and figuring things out. I don't read every comment on the channel, but every day, if I've got time, I usually try to go through and read the comments and heart some of them and reply to some of them. And again, I think that the channel has matured. I've been doing this for a little over a year and a half now. The whole dynamic of explored versus unmapped territory. A lot of I think about that often when we do the conversations, because when there's a new person on, there's automatically questioned. The new person is unexplored territory, and who are they, and have they been in the comment section? And today I posted the conversation that I had a little while ago with Sylvan Bear, and I really like, as some of you have noticed, I really like having conversations with people who are regulars in the comments section, because then we see their face. And people, in terms of their persona in comments, it's always a little different than their persona on video. And we're different people when we're talking through our fingers than when we're talking through our mouths. And to see a bigger, fuller picture of the person is usually a welcome thing. And so I want to keep doing conversations, and not just conversations with people who are college professors or authors or experts, but doing conversations with random people, as folks have said in the channel. And I want to keep bringing new people in. And some people have noted, well, there's a repetition to some of these conversations. And sometimes these conversations are dull, and I don't care to listen to them. And that's absolutely fine. I certainly don't expect people to have to listen to every video I post. I try with the conversations to put some indication in the title of what the conversation is about. Those of you who've been having conversations with me know that I try to take notes during the conversation, which is sort of challenging, but a good thing, because often I'll post the conversations days or even weeks, sometimes going on a month after we've had the conversations. And so the notes remind me of what we talked about and prompt me to think about it without necessarily having to rewatch the conversations. I don't often rewatch the conversations I had because I was there the first time. Maybe I should. So I've done a lot of thinking about the conversations and why should I do them and what are they for? And I very much understand the surprise that a lot of people have when you talk to anyone who wants to talk to you. And I don't clear or vet my conversations. I don't do them live. There are conversations that I have with people that should not be posted, and I won't post them. And as I'm having more and more conversations, sometimes now I don't post a conversation because I think, well, we've sort of talked about that before on the channel. And so sometimes I won't post a conversation for that reason. Just because we have a conversation doesn't mean you get to come on the channel. It's always an opt-in from both sides. And so if I decide to not post a conversation I have with you, there's no judgment about that at all. It doesn't mean I like you less or like you more or anything like that. It's much more a fact of I just thought about it and didn't think it was appropriate or fit now. Often when I have a conversation with someone, there will be things that they say that rest somewhere in the back of my mind, and later on I'll pull it up. And so if you had given me permission to share the conversation, then I might take little clips of it and play them. We'll see how it goes. I keep any conversation that someone agrees, that someone allows and gives me permission to record but not share. I've still got those conversations, and so some of you I know decided not to share the conversation, and I certainly honor that. Sometimes I disagree with it, but I honor it, and so if you change your mind, I've still got the conversation and we can share it. And if you never change your mind, that's okay too. Conversations often are just between two people, and that's a very appropriate thing. But what are they for? The conversations are for a lot of things. I think the conversations, part of my motivation for the conversations has always been this posture that I've had, which is a long-standing and rather deep thing for me, that people matter. And in our strange culture right now, we have this attitude that sometimes the only people that matter are the ones on screens, the ones on the television screens, or the ones who make the newspapers, which are now viewed on screens. And I think there's something deeply wrong to that. And so I welcome a technology like YouTube that says, well, anybody can be on screen. But then we have the dynamic of a lot of people are putting themselves on the screen and nobody's watching, and then so they don't feel validated. So my goal isn't necessarily to validate people by putting them on my channel. The fact that my channel has had whatever numerical success it's had, I frankly attribute to the fact that through no planning of my own, I started making videos about Jordan Peterson at exactly the right time, and the channel grew. And that is just how it is. And so I know a number of you don't watch the conversations, and you're probably not going to listen to this one because of that. But I do share the conversations because as we've seen, and as we've sort of stumbled into, a community as such has developed. And as a pastor, I'm very interested in that. So I like the conversations, and I'm going to keep doing the conversations, and some of you can keep skipping the conversations or picking them, which is absolutely appropriate. Not everybody has. I almost wind up posting an hour 6 days a week. That's sort of my rhythm lately, and I'll probably try to keep to that. Not everybody has an hour 6 days a week that they want to spend on this. And if you just want to watch a video I do on Jordan Peterson or John Vervaeke or Nathan Jacobs or Rod Hugan or someone else, that's totally cool. But I do value the conversations, and it's funny because the most of the videos my mother watches are the conversations, and when I noticed that, it really made me reflect on the fact that people do find other people interesting, and via my having a conversation with someone that adds a certain layer of expectation that the conversation will be about something and in such and such a way. And that, I think, contributes to the fact that people will take a chance on listening to it. And I think the conversations have really been a blessing. They've been a blessing to me, and I know a number of people have created new friendships in the comments section and because of the conversation. And again, as with the Sylvan Bear conversation that I posted today, it's something special to see someone in person. It broadens them. And now when you have an exchange in the comments section, well, there's more to it. You have a sense of the person. And then the other conversations via email or Twitter, or like between Job and Esther and Jeff and Luke and Frozen Texan and a whole bunch of people. These are really special, and this is part of the reason why I like doing the meetups too, because at least in Sacramento there's another whole side of it, because a number of the people in the Jordan Peterson meetup in Sacramento watch many of my videos, and so we'll talk about the characters who show up in my videos often in the meetup meetings. So this is a part of the channel that is increasingly costly to maintain as I'm able to get more and more conversations with experts and professionals. And I welcome that too. I welcome that nature, but I also want to keep the conversations with regular people, because here's the truth. The experts and the college professors I talk to are not necessarily more worth talking to than the people whose name nobody knows. And one of the things I've been amazingly impressed by in the comments section is just how many smart people are out there leaving great comments and insights. And so I didn't know a YouTube channel could be like this, but I've certainly been blessed by it. I want to say something about intramural Christian debates. Part of what happens, there's a college humor video that Christian people are nerds, and they're basically nerds fighting about their fandom in some ways similar to Star Wars fans or Star Trek fans. Which Star Wars movies are canonical and which Star Wars movies are apocryphal and which Star Wars movies should never have been made, and maybe everything post-Disney is a catastrophe or whatever. Anything that lodges deep in our heart is something we're going to fight over. And so Christians will have disputes with each other over language. And that's important, because language is a vital aspect of how we communicate with one another. And so having debates about words and formulations and doctrines, all of this is a normal and I think healthy part about Christian community. And so when it comes to moderating a comment section, I always err on the liberty side. I think in the whole time I've had this channel, I've only blocked 2 people, and I've only deleted 2 or 3 comments. And in every case, it was because the person was not contributing, but obviously and maliciously attempting to destroy community and conversation. And that I won't tolerate. I will allow people to get into things between each other and even sometimes have their feelings hurt. A degree of name calling I won't tolerate. We should be debating ideas. You can go with everything you've got after an idea because it doesn't bleed. But people are image bearers of God, and so we debate ideas, and we're generous and kind and hopefully gentle towards people. Now, when it comes to tribal markers in Christian communities, again, having a Christian tribe is a natural thing. We all need a tribe, and part of being a tribe is defending your tribe. And part of defending your tribe in a Christian theological context is taking on other ideas and challenging them and participating in that. But there's a degree to which, especially in an open forum, can be damaging to the witness and evangelistic posture of the church. And I know I'll have conversations with people with whom I disagree. And in fact, I may disagree quite strongly with many of the opinions they share. And they'll share opinions and say things on my channel that I won't challenge. I don't make apology for that. Well, maybe I'm making apology for that right now. But the reason for that is, quite frankly, patience. It isn't, I don't need to challenge every idea or everything that I disagree with or think is wrong or even dangerous at every moment, at every time. And the reason I don't do that is because I think people, quite frankly, do more changing as they talk their way through things. And part of someone talking their way through things means just letting them talk, letting them put things on the table, letting conversations go for long periods of time. You know, I've learned this through years of pastoral conversations. I often find pastors wade in way too fast with answers, with admonitions, with corrections. There are points and places and times for that. Seldom are they in public, which is part of the reason I won't do that much on my channel. Now, there may be conversations where that's sort of the sport and we're going to have a debate, and so I'll go at it. But especially in one-to-one conversations with people with whom I haven't spoken much, I am not going to challenge or contest or debate or correct very often. And if for you that just raises your blood pressure, well, you're probably not going to be long on this channel, because I'm not going to stop this. And the reason I'm not going to stop this is because, again, I believe people matter to God. And I believe what it takes for people to do things and to work things out is often a long time of conversation. And that's part of the reason why I do spend time on this channel doing conversation. Now, if it comes to the point that I have to start a sub-channel with just conversations, maybe I'll do that. I don't know. That's not for now. And so what I've done is I've got some guidelines for conversations. I thought about changing the link, but I haven't done that yet. So everyone who has the link has the link. It's not a huge secret. You can get it if you subscribe to me on Patreon, which I haven't followed very closely lately. So my apologies if you've tried to send me a message through Patreon. Lately I've been checking Twitter as often as I've been checking everything. I'm kind of snowed in terms of email. So if I missed your email, I'm very sorry. Don't be offended. It's nothing intentional. If you wrote me a long one with complicated questions, oh boy, there's a lot of questions I can't answer. But part of the reason I do the conversations is because I'm a pastor. That's an identity that I possess, and I help people curate and manage their stories. My flock, the YouTube channel is not a church. I say that all the time, but in many ways, anyone who comes to me because of my Christian beliefs about image bearers, I have to try to treat with respect. And so my flock has gotten far larger than the 100 or so people that used to be my flock here at Little Living Stones. And people are complex, and in Christianity, people as people have a privileged status, and that's why we should debate ideas and not go after people. But that's part of what I'm having to sort through and work through in this. And pastors build communities. And so one of the things I want to do with this channel is, in fact, build communities. And I hear from many of you that you're having email conversations or Twitter conversations or Facebook conversations or even just having Skype or Zoom offline and talking to people and meeting to people. And Job was hosting Frozen Texan and Jeff hosted Job and on. And I love that this is happening. That's part of the reason I started meetups, because there's something about face-to-face communication and more frequent contact that knits communities together and friendships, and I believe these are the spaces in which God does some of his most important work. So I love developing networks of relationships, and part of the thing that you learn as a pastor is the relationships can't always go through me. Even in a small church, as small as Living Stones, if someone is coming to the church and they're coming because they want to talk to me or have a relationship with me, That's not going to work. They need to develop relationships within the body of Christ. And the pastor is always sort of a special piece on the board in the body, but he's not a substitute for the body, and the whole body can't go through him. And so the church needs to have relationships apart. And so I'm gratified by hearing about relationships that are, maybe beginning in the comment section or beginning in converzations and flourishing and developing online in different ways. That's a wonderful thing. But the channel is not a church, but it can be sort of a community, and I want to foster and facilitate, but I don't control it, and I don't want to control it. And what that means is that some of you will meet with some of the others of you, but not others of you. And that's natural. And I understand it, and I don't necessarily encourage it because I'm pretty open, but also I don't discourage it. We all have natural affinities towards some people and not towards other people. And so I want to avoid cliquishness or subgroups necessarily. The channel is small enough right now, and I pastor a small church, that it's good for people to not develop too many shoot from the hip biases towards one another, often based on, well, they're an atheist, or they're a Christian, or they're a Jungian, or they're a Buddhist, or they're a Republican, or they're a Democrat. I think all of those identity elements should be a bit down, even though they're fundamental. I'm obviously a Christian and a Christian minister. We are all still image bearers, and if you're a Christian, Jesus commands us to love our neighbor as ourselves, all the way up to and including our enemies. And so if you're a Christian, you've got an even higher bar of treatment towards others, which means not quickly taking offense and not quickly condemning someone for their theological position or theological posture. So I'm going to talk about some conversation types, and I want my conversations to sort of fall into these. And these are reflecting on the conversations that I've had. I want to continue to have first-time conversations with people that aren't necessarily paying me money. That's important to me. And in these conversations, like you'll see, those of you who've watched a lot of conversations know the routine. What's your story? Why do you want to talk to me? And a lot of this is, what's your faith story? Or maybe your story of unbelief. Why did you walk away from the church? Why can't you believe in God? Why do you believe in God but have problems with him or her or it, or however you characterize God to be? Let me hear your faith story. What is it? What was it like growing up? Were your parents Christians? Did you leave the church? Are you still in the church? Are you struggling with church? I'm a pastor, and these are the kinds of stories that I think are not only important to me, but important for Christians to hear. And so I value these stories. And so as long as I can, and to the degree that I can, I want to keep this sort of unvetted conversations open, because what they mean is that I talk to people that I would never choose to talk to. But if you're coming to me and listening to my channel, there's something that is you're trying to work out in your head, or if I use Christian language, what God is doing in your life. And so I want to keep space for these conversations. So what is your story? What are you struggling with? For me as a pastor, this is basic research. What's going on in the world, in the zeitgeist? I learned this by listening to people, and I want to share it because it's data for all of us. There are pastors who listen to my channel, and for many pastors, this kind of information, especially talking to people who don't go to church or are not Christians or are anti-Christian, I value those conversations often more than the conversations I have with deeply wonderful Christian people. And many of you I've spoken with are wonderful, deeply Christian people, but you're already a Christian. And I want to talk to people who aren't. I want to know what they're thinking about. I want to know why they care. I want to know why they're listening to me. So I'm going to keep space open for those people. And so if you've had 2 or 3 conversations with me, and I'll get to that in a minute, hold back. Let the first timers through. Some of you have got it down in terms of how to get a slot. And okay, but other folks really want to talk to me, and they haven't had a chance. And so if you talk to me 2 or 3 times, my recommendation is going to be find 2 or 3 other people who have spoken to me too, and find a date with a group, just like Jeff and Job and Luke did. And then we'll have a group conversation. and or maybe have a group conversation without me and edit it down to maybe, post the conversation on another channel and then edit it down, and maybe I'll post a highlight video, something like that. We'll work something out. But please leave room for the first timers, for those who have just come on this channel and heard something and want to talk to me and have seen that I talk to other random people, and don't crowd them out. And that's, I'm not saying that they're little children, but when Jesus says, let the little children come to me, because to them belong the kingdom of heaven. Those who are, and that's why I started this channel, because as a pastor, I get so little opportunity to talk to people unfiltered. So don't be a filter that these people are having a hard time getting to me. I want to know about your Jordan Peterson meaning crisis journey. And I'll be doing some videos about the relationship between Jordan Peterson and the meaning crisis. I have an evangelistic project. I'm very open. I want, just like me and Bishop Barron have this in common, I want more people to discover faith in Christ. But I'll certainly be your friend if you're an atheist and think Christianity is a bunch of hooey. I will still be your friend. I will still love you. I will still respect you. I still want to talk to you. In fact, I probably want to talk to you more than I want to talk to some of my Christian brothers and sisters, because I lots of reasons that I just talked about. I'm not a controller. I'm a pastor/gardener. I'm not a machinist. I'm not looking to stamp out cookie cutter Christians. And, I get some teasing sometimes that I'm, partly because of the Jordan Peterson dynamic and my conversations with John. Oh, you're so pro-Orthodox. I'm a Christian Reformed pastor. But if someone says to me, I've started going to an Orthodox church, I'll encourage them. I'll say, go. So that's what I'm going to be. And again, I'm not going to play Christian tribal games here. I really don't want to play that. I certainly can. I can certainly argue for my positions, but that's not mainly what I want to do here. So, and I want data on this Jordan Peterson movement. And so it's very interesting for me to hear about, this is how you found Jordan Peterson. This is the changes that he made. And now that he's sort of receding, we'll see if he comes back when his second book comes, and if he does a book tour or the next biblical series. We'll see what happens to Jordan's story, but I still want data on what's going on, because right away I thought this was an important movement. And so updates, if you've had a few conversations with me and you want to do another one, send me an email and let me know kind of what you're thinking about. Maybe we can find a slot or something like that. These are pastoral conversations, and yes, I'd like you to become a Christian. I'm just trying to share a good thing, as the color purple says. But no, I won't violate you or force you, and I can't make you become a Christian or believe in God. That much should be obvious to any regular listeners of the channel. And there are relational idea projects. I've really enjoyed my conversations with Nick, and I hope to have more conversations with Nick about his. I want Nick to start his own channel, but we'll see what Nick does. Nick has so many interesting ideas, and there are others that I talked to Byrne, and I want to have some more conversations with Byrne, and some people I'm seeking out, like John Vervaeke and Nathan Jacobs, and I've got a few more that'll be coming onto the channel soon that I'll be having conversations. So it's a personal channel. It's a real mishmash of things, and so part of what I find so lamentable is that there are too many people and too many ideas, and so what that means is that there'll be some things I'm more interested in than other things, and those things will hit the top of my hierarchy, and other things won't. And so, don't take it personally. Maybe at some point you and I will find we're both interested in particular ideas. As you can tell, ideas go through my purview pretty quickly, and so who knows? Maybe a time will come, but I'll leave places for that in the channel. And so, if you propose a topic to me, I might say yes, or I might say no. But try doing some group conversations. I thought the conversation with Job and Jeff and Luke went very well. And if I've spoken, and you and I have spoken a couple of times, try and find 2 or 4 others who I've spoken with. I know Julian is often up for a conversation. Job is often up. Cassidy and Ryan are up for conversation. There's a lot of folks who haven't shown up for a conversation yet. I'm sure Mary would be in. I'm sure Esther would be in. Find some people who've been on the channel and see if you can make contact with them and ask them if they'd like to do a follow-up conversation. And then talk about what you guys want to talk about and send me an email and say, this is kind of what we'd like to talk about. And then look for a slot. Be precise. And when we do this, and I'm the last one who should say anything about this, I so ramble so insufferably sometimes. Be precise and economic with your language and your comments. And we'll see if we can get a conversation with 3 or 4 people done in an hour or an hour and a half. We'll see how that goes. Start up your own channel. Karen's done this, and I think she's done some good things. And she's talked to a number of the people from this channel. Pursue the conversation. And if you start your own channel, I appreciate the fact that the algorithm might not pick up on you. Now, there's some ways that you can maybe help your case. If you put my name in the tags section, there's various ways you can work on the algorithm so that if someone sees my channel, maybe Google will prompt your conversation. Come into the conversation on our channel and put a link in so that someone might be able to find it. I have, in many ways, my channel got started because of Jordan Peterson. If you build a channel bigger than mine based on my name, God bless you. And, I'm not going to be greedy about this kind of thing. That's the way it is. So, I might not have you colonize a conversation that we have. But what I mean by that is you have a whole bunch of ideas and I have a platform and you want to kind of throw them out there. Now, sometimes I'll initiate conversations with other people where I want to get them to throw their ideas out. But, start your own channel and start your own podcast and get your ideas out there. And who knows, maybe you'll get 10,000, 100,000, 1 million subscribers in a year. Do it. I'd love to see you do it. And I think it's a cool thing about YouTube. And I don't know how much longer YouTube will be this way. So have a disposition towards action. Start a Discord server and invite some people you'd like to engage with. Joey, who I had a conversation, is playing around with some of these ideas. He and Tyler, who've been in some of my conversations at my local meetup, they're working on them. Connect with people, network, put something together, do something, build something. Go for it. And feel free to invite me. I might jump in if I can. I'll try to do that. Now, monetization. This is something I don't talk about often because I don't like to forefront it. Part of, I make no bones about the fact that I pastor a little church, and what that means is a little church is always sort of on the edge, and this church has been on the edge probably for most of the 20 years I've been here. They've never missed a paycheck, which is a wonderful thing. But, it's a dying little congregation, and ministry always has a financial aspect. And so, everything last December when Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin pulled out of Patreon. I kind of watched Jonathan Peugeot to see what Jonathan does, and Jonathan didn't pull out. He started the Subscribe Star, but that then had issues. So I've just kind of been waiting on this because this isn't a primary income generator for me. It might have to pull more weight in the future. I don't know that, depending on what happens here on the ground in terms of Living Stones and its financial situation. Some people over the last years have written checks and sent them to Living Stones, which has been a very generous thing. Some of you have supported me on Patreon, which has been a generous thing. Sometimes some of you have sent me money on PayPal. I even put Bitcoin links in there when all this stuff was going on at the turn of the year, and I thought, well, Bitcoin's a great way to send money without any trying to get it between nations. So if you're not in the U.S. and you want to support me, and you're kind of a tech person and can figure out how to use cryptocurrency, I take Bitcoin. So there you go. But, I'm continuing to think about this. And I know Jordan Peterson we're going to roll out ThinkSpot. I'm going to take a look at that. And some other vendors have actually been approaching me lately. My channel's not real big, but I guess it's big enough to get on the list for some people. And so looking at some platforms by which there could be more community and support. And one of the things I think about in terms of a sub channel or a pay or a behind a paywall channel, what might be instant release of agreed to conversations, might be extra things. I noticed that Jonathan Peugeot has now started new things on his. I don't even support him on Patreon. I should, because I just have some ambivalences about some of these things. So yeah, I'm gonna try and figure that out. And so, but again, the main thing is I don't want money to stand in the way of random conversations with people, because maybe it's my spiritual commitments, but the Holy Spirit can do surprising things. And if you want to de-Christianize that statement and talk about randomness or something, be my guest. But I don't want money to be kind of the way that people, the way that I manage a crowd. Having said that, I might do something like Jonathan has done and like Jordan used to do in terms of support at a certain amount. I haven't made those decisions yet, but we'll see what happens with Living Stones and the budget this year. Every year, budget is kind of like, what's budget going to look like? But that's, many of you who are part of churches know that's a normal part of church every year. Oh, did we make budget this year? Oh, we didn't make budget this year. So how does that affect? And here at Little Living Stones, my salary is most of the budget. So, I mean, the building is paid for and there aren't a lot of programs. And so my salary is most of the budget. So most of the money that comes here goes to me one way or another. So I'm thinking about monetization and ThinkSpot and all of those things. Thinking about doing some writing. I've been thinking about that for years, but ideas are getting a little clearer in my mind. And now actually with a little bit of a platform, if I would write a book, probably, would do okay. So I gotta figure all that stuff out. So I am going to reopen the Calendly link. I know a lot of you have written me and said, there's no slots. There's no slots. No, there's no slots because it was closed down. And I'm going to reopen it. Don't all rush in. I didn't change the link, and so I'm going to wait a day or two after I release this to reopen it, and I'm going to probably do it at some random hour, like a thief in the night, and open up a few slots in the next coming weeks. Not a lot, just a few. And again, pay attention to the new guidelines. I'm going to put a link in the notes here. I put the guidelines up in written form on my blog. And again, if leave room for first timers, if you and I have spoken already, and if you have spoken, and get a group together and let's do a group conversation. And if we can do that, we can sort of economize and get more people through. There was a saying that I picked up from people. So some people, when you invite guests over to the house, and actually Sunday I was a little behind in posting my Sunday school sermons, my Sunday school lessons too on the other channel. I do have a church channel that's separate from this channel where I do my sermons and my Sunday school classes. And I often think some of you might enjoy my Sunday school classes because some of you might notice a lot of Peterson stuff sneaks into those. But family hold back. And so that's sort of the message I want to give here, because if you're committed, if you watch all my videos and this is a really important thing for you, and I know you want to talk to me, and gosh, I love talking to people that I've already established a friendship with, and we can talk a lot, but new people need to be able to get through. And we need to be able to add new people to the mix. And that means family hold back. Group up, get a group of you together, and if I can talk to 2 or 3 of you at once, get yourselves a little organized, think about what you want to talk about, let me know. We'll see how that goes, and we'll see if we can get more people through the channel. Again, it's one video 6 days a week pretty much is my rhythm, and we'll see if we can do this. So again, all of you who have been supporting my channel, some of you have sent money every month. humbled and embarrassed in a good way. And thank you, because the little extra money that brings in. Hey, I've got 5 kids, 2 in college this year. It all helps, of course. I don't want that to be what this channel is about. And I'm very sensitive about those things, because Christian ministry can so easily become simony. Simony is ministry for pay. And if there's anything, you didn't have to pay $150 to spend an hour with Jesus. And you shouldn't have to pay $150 to spend an hour with me. So that's part of my conviction about the way the world should work. So if we've had a conversation, family, hold back, leave room for some other people. If in fact, if you jump in, I might cancel your conversation and send a note and say, leave some room for some of the new people. And yeah, and when we have new people on, encourage them when they come through. And again, that's been so gratifying. You know, the conversations with Jem have been very precious. And you know, so many people they're very hesitant to okay, shall I share this? They kind of want to, they kind of don't want to. But then when they share the video, you all in the comment section, you regulars, and you know who you are, you encourage them. And you know, even if they're not a Christian or not a Christian yet, or even if they're anti-Christian or struggling with it and angry at God or something like this, you encourage them. This is always what I've wanted a church to be like. And we're not a church, but some of those aspects and qualities of the Christian community, it's people matter to God. And if God matters to you and people don't, then there's a problem. So that's my heart, and I want that to be a living part of the channel. So in the next couple of days, I'm going to just, I'm not going to open it up all the way and have the floods come through. I'm going to open up 4, 5, 6 new slots here in August. I'm going to try and I also have to, as many of you have noted, I also have to find what I can bear, and I'm learning as I go here. So thanks for your patience. Thanks for your restraint. Twitter's a pretty good place to interact with me, I'm finding, because Twitter is fairly short. And so there's limitations to that, but I'm finding Twitter to be fairly efficient as I'm trying to figure out how to deal with numbers. And, I also have to bear in mind that Jesus had 12 disciples that he spent most of his time with. There are actually a larger group of like 72, so then you have kind of your inner circle, and then you have your congregation. But then there was the crowd, and Jesus often would retreat to isolated places. He had to escape the crowd for times of prayer. And this is something I probably have to learn to do too. So sorry for the reruns. I'm going to open up the conversation link a little bit more. I've got one more conversation that's sort of in the can, and it's a sneaky good one. Right at the end, it really gets engaging. And so I'll share this week, and I've got the second part of the talk that I did in Oakland at the C.S. Lewis Society. I'll be sharing that this week. I hope to get there'll be definitely a rough draft for Friday coming out, because I've got to preach this Sunday. And hopefully I'll get 1 or 2 other videos. I'm doing a lot of thinking. I'm reading, C.S. Lewis's Discarded Image. Maybe Bern and I should have a conversation about that. He said that was his favorite C.S. Lewis book. So we'll see what we do. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for all of you who have supported financially. I don't thank you enough for that. Part of the reason I don't talk about it is I don't want to forefront it. And that's the same way in my church, and the deacons get frustrated with me for that, because I don't ask for money and I don't guilt people for money, and I'm frankly not going to start. So, yep, that's it for today. I'll post this tomorrow.